Hey guys, it is Chris here, and today we will be playing some Brawl. We are playing Velomachus, the Lorehold. Velomachus Lorehold, that's what he's called. And we're just going to try to see what we can do with him. He's a really cool card. Get a cast instance from your library when he attacks from the top 7 cards. As long as they are less than or equal to his power, I think. So, this deck we're running here, it's got some instants, it's got some equipment to up his power. I think it has 2 enchantments and a couple of creatures that benefit from that either protect our creatures or our Lorehold, basically. So we're gonna open up here with our Windscar Crag. Words are hard today. Many hard words. Playing against an Nylea the Keen-Eyed opponent. Probably not the best choice for us. This deck does have Wrath though. It's not unable to defend itself. Our opponent's taking a good think over their actions and choices. Don't know if maybe they decided to queue up with the wrong deck, or maybe they wanted to keep their hand and didn't know if it was the right choice. But we get everything down. That was not a Windscar Hag, was it? Crag. Words. That was the snow one. I don't think the snow one is Windscar. I'm not gonna say that word, because I can't pronounce it. And even though it's a card in my deck, I withhold the right to not say it. So we're gonna look for basic land. Gain a couple life. Opponent's been playing Mana Dork so far, and they're continuing with Mana Rocks into a Mana Dork, so they're ramping into the late game. We are still on 3 lands. At this point we decided to put down our own Mana Rock. Slightly less efficient, but still okay. We should have put it on white. We have a double white card in hand, and we can't cast it now because it's on red, but at the time I was thinking it didn't really matter because our commander is both red and white, and he's the whole reason we're using that particular Mana Rock, because it increases the power of creatures by 1, so that's what we're working with. They are fierce empathing up a creature from their deck. Has to be 6 CMC and less, and it is a Kogla. Kogla is not great for this deck as we don't have any of the things to stop it from being good, but I think about some of my options here. I decide on a line of play that's objectively incorrect because I can't actually cast the thing that I'm thinking about casting, so you do what you can, you know. I was thinking that we could flash in the Glorious Protector after the Kogla comes down, so we don't have to have a creature eaten by Kogla, but unfortunately for us, double white mana, not something we have. Also, unfortunately for us, Kogla is not coming down this turn because our opponent decided to get Nylea online instead. And I guess they're holding out for some value, which is probably the right choice. We could have even cast Glorious Protector if we had foretold it with 2 red mana. Then we would have 3 mana left to cast it, so we messed up the Glorious Protector play pretty hard, and thanks to that mess up, we are staring down a lethal board of threats. That's 11, 16, 15, 19, plus 1, 20. Exactly 20 on board. We have 1 blocker. They have a Kogla in hand, so our 1 blocker is meaningless. Their Shy goes up by 1 power because they put down some lands, so now they're at 21 damage. And we have no responses to this. We have -1 life, and that's the game for us. So we're going to move on to game 2. It was very quick. At this point in the recording session, I was sure that Velomachus could do good things for me. He's not a bad card. He's not. It's just there aren't a lot of good sorceries and instants to play with him. And we don't have a lot of luck today. So we end up against the Silver Quill, legendary student, who reduces the cost of targeting creatures by 2, which in black-white means it's a removal-heavy deck. Chances of Lorehold being able to attack and connect in this matchup isn't great. But what can you do? We have aspired to be of the Great House Lorehold and to swing in with our big dragon. And that's what we're going to do, even if it doesn't work. We keep our hand here. We have a 2-drop that we can play. At the time, I didn't realize that we had 2 of our enchantments in hand, so our Idyllic Tutor is basically useless. There goes the student. He comes down. We put down our 2-drop. See what the future holds for us. Our opponent thinking over their options. Is this small 2/1 worth murdering to death? Our opponent has to decide these things. We can't block it, so it doesn't really matter to us. We put down a land. Put down our Lorehold Pledge Mage. He's not very good, but he matches up with our Spell Slinging archetype, so our opponent casts Sigrid the God-Favored. They wanted to exile my untapped creature, but that's not how Sigrid works, so we get off with only a 1 creature lost until they untap, which they did a few moments ago, and then they hovered our creature, which generally means only one thing. Hovering him again. Is it worth killing? Apparently it was worth it. Didn't even get a discount there. Oh, no, they did. Good for them. We put down a mountain, which is objectively the wrong play. We should have put down a Maria. So that way we could have cast our Outlaw's Merriment, but we didn't do that, so we have to cast Showdown of the Skulls instead, which means we won't be able to use all the cards that Showdown of the Skull has to offer for us, but let's be fair. This game already isn't going great for us. We are holding on, though, because our opponent has very little creatures. They have creatures, they're just small in power. That's a bad sign. We want to cast more than 1 spell a turn. So we play our land, we play our Arcane Signet, that's about all we have. Well, actually, we can play 1 4-drop. So we have to decide between Angels, Draw, or Outlaw's Merriment, and we decide Outlaw's Merriment. To be fair, the 4/4 would have gotten removed, and the draw only got us 1 creature from our graveyard. Wouldn't even have got us a creature from our graveyard, so it was useless. But if we draw an untapped land, Velomachus can come down next turn. Swing in, we might get lucky. We have 2 Wrath that Velomachus can hit in the deck. We have the new Dragon's Wrath, and we have Storm's Wrath. Both of which would be very good for us. The opponent swings in for 6 damage. That's decent when we're at 15. Outlaw's Merriment triggers, we get a 3/1. We draw an untapped land. This is Christmas land. Velomachus comes down. We get to put a counter on our creature. Our opponent thinking over their life choices. We decide to try to rush in for the attack because we didn't want our opponent to remove it. In doing so, we actually attached with our 3/2, our 4/2, which would have been nice as a blocker, but we still have Velomachus as a blocker, contingent upon the fact that he doesn't get removed by our opponent. They remove our token instead. Eliminate won't remove Velomachus, and we whiff. Oh god. It's funny in retrospect, because we do have enough spells to hit in the deck. We just have all of our crappy spells in our hand. And, yeah, 2 of the spells in our hand don't actually do anything. And I don't think we're running the red MDFC because it doesn't do anything with Velomachus. But the X spells don't work because you can't pay the X cost when you're casting without paying its mana cost. Our opponent is thinking over our life choices now. They're wondering why we built such a bad deck, and I can assure them that it's not as bad as it appears, but unfortunately for us, it kind of looks a little bad. Kind of does. Our opponent sacrifices their land, gets themselves an angel, our creature comes back, our creature dies. They take 1 damage because they activated an attack that wasn't a mana ability. That was quite the sequence of events. They swing in for 2. Not gonna put their free card draw on the line. Can't blame them, really. We are going to swing in with Velomachus again. Velomachus will be our salvation, I assure you of this. And we whiff again. Velomachus is truth. Velomachus is life. Unfortunately for us, truth and life are not cooperating as of recently. So we're going to try to get down some angels with Amelia's Call. It is the only spell in our hand that actually does anything, so might as well cast it. We have an intimidating board for being quite dysfunctional so far. Our opponent thinking over their options. I believe they're in a hairier situation than they were before now. They're staring at 13 power in the air. That's half their life total. We get a 2-1. Another 2-1. Our slow build-up board is going good for us. We're going to attack him with Velomachus first. See what the future holds for us. Storm Breath is the only card we can cast, so we decide to cast it. This is very painful for us because it does lose our board, but ideally it would get rid of our opponent's board as well. Two mana. Protection, probably not. Forgot they could do targeted protection. Semester has ended. Our opponent's creatures are at the beach. They're in the beach episode. Our creatures alone die. And Velomachus has proved himself to be the greatest of the Elder Dragons. I say that sarcastically. I really do like Velomachus. It's just in this particular scenario, he may have let us down slightly. Our opponent's board comes back bigger and stronger than ever. They try to attack and kill us. Luckily, we can block everything. We have protection to keep our other creature alive, and Velomachus is big enough to stay alive by himself. He will get a shot at redemption if everything goes according to plan. Hopefully it will. Even if it doesn't, we'll just cast him again. Give him another shot at redemption. Alright, they attacked in. We survived it too. It's 2-30. I still like our chances. Poor Velomachus. We get a 2-1 that has lifelink. We draw a land, which is not very useful. Velomachus is our only hope for salvation. May he shine upon us. He may have shined upon us. I don't know. I removed a creature. Looking back at the footage, Semester's End may have done something, but I don't think it did. Yeah, actually, Semester's End would have done something, wouldn't it? Because our creatures would have returned with well, the token wouldn't have returned, would it? But I'm pretty sure if you blink tokens, they just disappear. Velomachus dies for the first time in the game, the last turn of the game, and sad times have been achieved. I'd like to cast him here on my opponent's turn. Sadly, magic does not work that way. And we're going to pass the turn. See what happens. So what happens here is, we try to think about spite blocking, but then we realize that we can survive at 0. Which isn't surviving, but it's better than being at negative. Whatever our negative would have been. Because our lifelink will kick in. There we are. 0 life. Thank you guys for watching. It's been a blast, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.